Welcome everyone in to BOL. Welcome back to Diamond as well. I am Rue and I'm joined today by Pelly, and we have one hell of a matchup for you all happening in our Diamond League. In the Ionia region, we got Strawbubu, Matcha Latte up against TMG Flash. And just based off those names alone, who do you favor headed into this matchup?
Listen, I I know you are not a fan of the name Strawbubu Matcha Latte.
Who
So
is?
I feel like I have to root for them just to even it out a little bit.
I mean,
A little
I'm sure the players are gonna be fine, but that name's under my skin already.
I will say it as much as I can on this cast just to try. A little bit of update before we get fully into draft here. Both teams are 1-0 game score right now. Although Strawbubu Matcha Latte is 2-1 in their game score, while TMG Flash is 2-0 in their game score. So, maybe in our predictions, that could play a little bit of favor. TMG Flash didn't drop a game last week.
They didn't drop a game, but I do believe they are using an eSub, but I can't quite find full info on that one. I see that an eSub was requested by Not Important, the jungler for TMG Flash. Whether they're using him or not in this game, we will find out. But it looks like they have their full bans for now, and I don't see any bans being waived. So maybe not in game one, maybe later on in the series. I'll have someone else have to come into the fold. At any rate, bans are just about done and dusted with. We got a Zoe, Jarvan, and an Ashe taken away by the Labubus, and then a Bard, Karma, and Gnar taken away by TMG, as an Orianna is picked first.
Yeah, very common bans. Both sides just banning pretty powerful picks. Besides the Zoe, maybe we're aiming at a one trick with that. But Jarvan and Ashe are both some of the best ADCs and junglers in the patch. Same with Bard and Karma. Gnar's a incredibly strong blind pick in the top lane. And then Orianna left open for first pick. I think it's the best mid laner in the game. Sort of a no-brainer to pick it up. We see right now we're going to answer with R1 Kaisa. So that is a little bit awkward. Normally here you see stuff like Caitlyn, like Jhin, maybe a Misfortune if we're getting a little bit creative, but definitely early Kaisa. And it looks like right now they're hovering to pair it with a Nocturne.
Well, I think
So
this is
if
why they're
that is
looking for the
locked in,
Kai'Sa.
it could be like a pretty heavy dive comp coming in if it's Kaisa and Nocturne. It also denies the Orianna Nocturne from the side of Strawbubu.
I think that's what they were looking for most of all. Take away the Nocturne, build the dive comp around it. Taking the Kai'Sa definitely helps with that. There's not many ADCs who can join in on the dive as willingly as a Kai'Sa can, but just interesting to see them go that hard into a Kai'Sa early on in the draft. Typically want to go more engaged with it on the support as well. We'll have to see how effective they're going to be from that perspective as we move on through the rest of things. As we now head over to Labubu, they have plenty of junglers still to choose from, right? Nocturne, the premier pick for an Orianna, but plenty more where that came from. Whether they even bother to do so on B2, B3 still is up in the air, as Corki's actually going to be taken away second of all by Labubu, and we'll have to see. I mean, you can go Wukong, you can go a whole plethora of AD junglers, but do you just take the Corki Nami now?
I think you should probably lock in jungler. You can drop support to 4-5. I think there's more pairings that you can do with Corki Nami. Corki Nami is by far, the best combo, but probably just going to answer jungle. Xin Zhao's still open. He's also incredibly strong in this patch. I am curious to see, because I've seen the AP Xin Zhao top lane with the Static Shiv and the Nashor's Tooth and like the full AP build for the healing. I've heard it is good in jungle. I've not used it myself. I'd like to see if it's broken out. With Orianna mid, I don't expect it to, but I would like to see how powerful it is if it does. On the other side, we're just going to pair up Kai'Sa and Nico. So Nocturne Nico is such a dangerous combo. If you just hide as Nico as a minion and then go in with your ult with a Nocturne ult on top of it, it is almost impossible to react to. So really great wombo combo, and we see Nami already being hovered. They know Corki Nami, his strongest duo, gonna take it out.
Yeah, and I think this is very interesting with TMG as well. The new school engage, not going with like the old school, like Kai'Sa Nautilus was like always the decision. Now, especially with a Nocturne as well, as you point out, that extra synergy, that extra layer of deception TMG Flash have to work with. They got a very nice dive comp brewing, and to be fair, on the other side of things, still pretty squishy across the board, right? Xin Zhao does typically bruisery. I think it may even force him to go more bruisery, because if you go towards that kind of AP build, you are a little bit squishier, a little bit more at risk. So you're banning away execution champions. I really like the Akali ban there because you know how squishy you already are. I can see them picking tank here on 4 for Labubu to try and just take something safe, dependable blind that also doesn't get absolutely destroyed by this dive comp.
Another good ban from TMZ or TMG Flash here if it gets locked in. Right now, hovering Alistar, another good just anti-dive support. And you're talking about how squishy the side of Strawbubu is. Alistar with that ultimate just provides so much tankiness. It is going to be taken out. So I think a very smart ban. And then on 4 here, I assume they're just going to answer mid lane with their hard dive comp. They could, the classic pick is something like an Azir normally to like match an Orianna, and you just play for scaling.
Ari's still up.
Oh, Ari is still up. Ari is. I completely forgot about Ari, and she's like one of the best.
It's meant to be banned by now, but it isn't. It's still here.
It should be banned. Ari is a great lock for them here if they are able to play it on 4.
Can I just point out we see a Karthus ban?
Oh, we're gonna see AP Ezreal.
Okay.
I think that's AP Ezreal mid.
I'm not sure why we've just seen a Karthus ban, and the fact that we're then getting an Ezreal afterwards makes it maybe even more insane. I don't know what Pumpkin's been cooking up here, but the Zoe's banned away because that's his most played champ. Everything else beyond that is just kind of they play a decent bit of it. They play a whole lot of different champions. Ezreal, sure, why not? Corki gonna steal away the Nautilus to have something to go back with on the bot side. A little bit of tankiness as well. I mean, Sion is just staring me in the face. If I'm Strawbubu, I need some form of tankiness. I need Instrument to be playing the most boring top lane he can think of right now, and that is also up there.
It's one of them. Gonna see the Cassante locked in. The question is, for the side of TMG Flash, do we have the Garen in the back pocket as the ultimate counter pick into Cassante? I'm not saying it's great, but I think it's a very fun counter that you could break out. If you want to do something more normal to fit with your comp, you could just break out an Ambessa instead.
Yeah.
But what if we got a little bit flashy? I mean, we're already picking AP Ezreal mid. We could get a little bit crazier.
I think I'd still prefer the Ambessa.
I would too, but we could get a little crazy. It's just going to be the Shen on R5 here instead. I don't like it when teams save R5 for their top laner and just end up picking a tank. It is sort of a pet peeve of mine. You're not really playing for the counter pick. If you're going to pick a tank, you can just blind it.
Is this Shen a tank, though?
Do you think he's gonna do the what's the build? It's Dusk and Dawn.
It's Dusk and Dawn, and I think that is the most common build right now. Shen is not building tank all too often. Maybe in the final few items, sure, but at that point, it's a very different looking game. I would not. I don't even know if I'd classify this version of Shen as a tank. Right, Titanic into Dusk and Dawn is very damage heavy, very. High potential for just getting destroyed back in return. Good enough into Cassante, not as hard of a counter as Garen that you were proposing earlier, but it can join in with the dive somewhat. I think Ambessa maybe has a little more fun doing that, but at any rate, Shen's going to be a very solid pick here for TMG Flash, able to assist as well as deal a good chunk of damage when they hit that 2-item spike. And I mean, that dive comp looking a little bit sketchy for Strawbubu to play into.
Yeah, I don't know how the Shen and Cassante lane matchup goes, but I do know Nocturne and Shen paranoia into the Shen ult right on top of him for just an insta-dive on the backline of this very immobile Orianna is going to be a nightmare for Strawbubu to deal with in the late game.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if their very immobile mid lane carry is under a lot of duress. Maybe not infinite, there is no Warwick on the other team, but many amounts of duress, just not quite the most possible. TMG, a whole lot of pressure on a whole lot of players on Strawbubu, a lot of lack of ability as well, right? Talking about the Orianna, Corki has a bit more with his Valkyrie, but not much more. Xin Zhao is also sometimes seen as quite an immobile target, even though he will be that little bit tankier. There's no one that I'm really looking at right now for Strawbubu that's like going to be able to tank both a Kai'Sa and an Ezreal if they're allowed to free hit. At which point, You've got to be able to close that gap. Nautilus, a great champion to do precisely that. Have you got enough follow-up on that hook? Have you got maybe the Orianna shockwave ball attached to the Nautilus, hoping that whoever he hooks is going to be the right target to pull the trigger on? Maybe that's the play. Maybe you send a Casanti around the back and give him the orb instead. I feel like TMG do have to be a little bit careful of getting engaged on themselves, but if they're the ones to pull the trigger, I don't see how they lose this one.
Yeah, if they pull that trigger first, it's going to be solid. I'm looking at the bot lane matchup here. If this Kai'Sa Nico is able to survive early into this Corki Nautilus, Nautilus has great engaged into the Nico. And if Nico is not that tanky, if you do find a hook on her, it's going to be a large chunk with the Foss Bomb on top from Corki. So we're going to see if they're going to be able to survive this laning phase and scale up.
Yeah, it's always interesting, isn't it? Like when you have like a Nautilus up against a Nico, similar ideas of champions. Like the Nico is similar to a lot of the early AP supports, like kind of pokey, especially through the early lane phase. You're playing kind of two ranged against one, but that one melee can be so threatening. At level 1 in particular, I wouldn't be shocked if a play was made by Strawbubu, but beyond that, TMG should be able to, if they're able to coast out through that level 1, the rest of the lane phase should be, I'd say, in their favor with just the poke advantage, if nothing else. But of course, we can keep talking about theory until the cows come home, right? What's more important is that since Alice is banned, we can't talk until the cows come home. There will be no cows. Instead, we have to take a short little break, and we can work out what these guys do with their hands instead of with their minds after this short little break. Welcome back, everyone, and we are very sorry for the long delay. League servers decided that they should kind of die in between our games there, in between the draft and getting into our game. Other games were much more affected than our one because we hadn't quite got into the game. Other games in BOL Diamond had already gotten started, so I guess a blessing in disguise, we could say, for how late we were able to get into this one, but we are into it at any rate. We've also got some crazy trading happening in mid early on. Pumpkin, the one to take the Kai'Sa into the mid, not taking the Ezreal and Keezy, really feeling the pain.
Yeah, I was excited to see all the flash. Oh, that's just first blood.
What are we doing there?
I don't think he expected the damage from the Kai'Sa passive to come out.
Plasma.
He had that 5th hit up, plus that first strike. Don't think he saw it coming. I was excited for the AP Ezreal mid, maybe. It just got buffs, which is why I thought it was going mid lane with the Kai'Sa in the bot lane to pair up with the Nico. But instead, we do see the Ezreal bot. I mean, it's working out pretty well. Kai'Sa already got the solo kill and heavy trading in the top side as well. Shen right now sort of running this lane.
Yeah, I mean, this is typical early game Shen, right? Another one of the champions just loves getting low with your enemy and surviving at that kind of HP for a very long time. To sustain with second wind, Doran Shield, all those types of additional runes and early game items definitely going to help out doing precisely that. Both top laners going Grasp as well. Well, they'll be fine at that kind of HP instrument. Going some cookies, so he'll be more than happy to roll around in the mud for him. Maybe even get the pull under tower with the Pathmaker. That is a flash away from 10th of myself, who is feeling maybe less than a 10th right now. Dodging the Q though of Instrument, going to go E forward. One more auto should do the trick. Maybe a Q to the face as well. That will definitely get the job done. Flash for flash in top, and 10th of myself just stepping way too far forward as this beautiful tag bobs down in bot as well. Big Jabonko down incredibly low as well in bot.
Yeah, we see Cassante get the shove back under his tower. Very well played to get that Shen baited. And finds himself an early kill. I do think it's interesting, neither top laner is running the new Doran's Helm item, both opting into Doran's Shield. I know Cassante really loves Doran's Helm because of the armor and magic resist, he scales up with his Q for the decreased cooldown. But I think we're just going more of comfort, or more of what's known with the D Shield instead. So we're going to get our junglers now passing towards Scuttle. This is a very slow clear by the Xin Zhao. He's only taken 4 camps at 3 minutes. I'm not quite sure what happened. But
I don't know if he was delayed to his level 1. I feel there was some stuff happening before we got into things. Pumpkin trading heavily with Keezy, clearly working out well for the Kai'Sa. I wonder if that bled into Poom's first clear as well, because I think he turned up just as Pumpkin looked for the disengage, then ended up getting the kill anyway. So maybe his first clear was delayed as such. Well, Xin Zhao does have one of the slower first clears, but it's never that slow. Who finally getting it done with, getting that crab as well, so doesn't lose out all too much, but he still hasn't cleared out his blue buff. And if he's spotted on vision, it will be known that he's still missing a camp, and he's going to be spotted as he walks up to top side. Sent myself great ward timer to make sure that the 1 death stays at exactly 1.
Yep, you said a great ward timer and still had the dash to get himself out of there, but now Pumpkin TPing back into mid, back onto Keezy. Gonna be the chunk, but it's not quite the kill. Very strong TP back. We are seeing the new rune in from the Orianna, the replacement for the phase rush. I don't remember the name, sorry guys.
I will find it as long as these guys don't keep on fighting
too,
top.
basically.
Poom is still sticking around here, making things interesting. Hasn't taken his base. Not important. May have realized what was left, but there is the just flash forward on the Xin Zhao, audaciously charging forward. Very audacious, as it's going to be at least a 1-for-1 there. The Nocturne picks up the kill, as well as Instrument picks up his second. A very tanky K'Sante now waits, not important, as he may just look to disengage towards the blue buff, as Hart barely survives on a slither of health. All Gucci is going to be all Gucci, running away to the tower until he's not. Great hook in, and the auto will fly away as the flash is not in time, and Big Bunko is going to pick up the kill after we saw so earlier on. He was the one being low. Now he's the one able to get the kill.
Yeah, 1-for-1 trade in the top. Ultimately not too horrible for the side of TMG. The kill went into the Nocturne, but
That's really good for
is
TMG.
now definitely far behind. But the kills in the bot lane for the side of Strawbubu, talked about in draft, even though it was a little bit a while ago, how potent this Nautilus could be in lane if he lands a hook onto that squishy target of the Nico. And we saw the trade damage sort of just left Ezreal to the dust. Hart was unable to walk back and try to save their ADC, and we see them go down because of it. Corki now going to have the early lead. A little bit of farm, plus that one kill. Ezreal only coming back to lane with that tier and that longsword. Does buy the refillable potion. I mean, everyone's buying a refillable potion, it seems. Very popular item right now, as we all reset back into our lanes.
Yeah, well, I think part of that is how many early bases have been forced, as Hart has barely dodged that hook. Beautiful little tangle bob as well to make sure there is no counter engage here, but Gucci's still walking up very far. If Willie has another hook, that may just be a kill. Wind does become lightning, but Poom has no extra follow-up damage. The minions really putting in the work as well. Means the Xin Zhao is going to be sent packing once more. Still down 3 counts, by the way. Could potentially have been invaded on top side for making that gank attempt on bot as well. Not important. Looking perhaps to cross over. Poom is going to take that instant reset on bot. Could either gank, could look to take the crab. Already has level 6. This Nocturne, after getting that kill and the extra blue buff, very, very far ahead of where he normally would be at this phase of the game. Poom struggling to keep up.
I wouldn't know if I would call that a hook dodge more than a hook miss. They had no vision on Willie in the bush and just doesn't line up the dredge line properly. And now we're going to see Hart run to the bush. That's a big mistake.
Yeah, able to still get himself out to safety. His paranoia is actually going to be used down towards the bot side. Make it a 3 versus 2. The fear onto the Nocturne. Kite get the hook towards the wall, barely avoiding the Spider-Man there. Great kill timer found by Not Important, as Willie is unfortunately just going to be evaporated. Can't do much when you're that far up in the lane unless you have your flash. Doesn't have it, has Hex Flash unlocked. If you can't land the hook on the wall, there is no Spider-Man to be had today, and Willie, unfortunately, has no other option but to fall down, as Tenth of myself is really taking it right now from this K'Sante. 2 kills, I guess, would kind of do that.
Yep. Engage from the Nocturne in the bot side. You could argue that the Nico walking into the bush and getting her flash forced was all a bait for the Nocturne in the long term.
Tis a root.
But I think Nocturne was coming down there anyways. I don't think it was that needed. So we're going to see 10th of myself just dash away from the K'Sante W. Try to at least stabilize a little bit in this farm right now. 20 farm down. Is going to catch a wave here, so it's going to even out a little bit. But, I mean, at most, it's going to be 15.
Yeah, and he catches an awful trade every time, right? Every time he thinks of walking close, he just catches another slap in the face from Instruments, I guess we can call them. The Intofo's doing a whole bunch of damage right now, and the anti-heal as well, courtesy of his early Bramble Vest, providing a bunch of value into something like a Shen. Myself going to take a very early base for a second TP of the game to get straight back in, as that's a nice tag about connecting once more onto Willie, as it's also going to be an arcane shift forwards. That was dangerous. All Gucci, nice hook found, barrier forced, and a massive amount of damage dealt. All Gucci may have to think twice before he presses E1 again. That was very dangerous.
I got a little bit confident with the Tangle Barb landing. Oh no. We may have some more server issues right now as we enter a pause. But definitely all Gucci getting a little bit cocky with that Tangle Barb landing. Tried to E forward for the extra damage. Willie still had the hook up, and well, all Gucci's now in a pretty bad spot in lane if and when this gets unpaused.
Yeah, still no flash either for, I'd estimate, about 90 seconds or so, bearing in mind it's a 300-second cooldown, maybe 75, but kind of pre-10 minutes. The Drake is still up on bot side, by the way. If Pooh can make his way down here, it could be a very dangerous time indeed. Not Important, just barely missing his ultimate, could look to maybe counteract that play. But with the Xin Zhao just freshly in base, makes it a little bit more difficult to try and go for the punish as well. The Nautilus not quite reaching level 6 as well, makes it that little bit more difficult to really put the pressure on. But hey, that's free pressure in the lane right now for Strawbubu. It's all Gucci basically forced into a base, and this would have been a really nice timer for the Nocturne to have taken the Drake as well, right? If the bot lane is able to kind of stabilize, maybe even get prio, which we should be looking for, to be fair, as Ezreal Nico. Look at where the Nocturne is. Look at his camps that he's just finishing off. Look where the Zinzao is. This would have been a great time to have a look for a Drake.
And while we are in this pause, I did have enough time to look up the new rune name.
Storm Raider Surge.
Storm Raider's Surge. If anyone is unfamiliar with what it does, if you deal 30% of a champ's max health within 2 seconds, you give yourself 40% bonus movement speed and some slow resist. I believe it's for 3 or 4 seconds. So it is sort of the replacement for Phase Rush, but now it is much more reliant on your damage output. We're going to see it on the Orianna, so maybe a little bit of a burstier Orianna to get that Storm Raider Surge procs in these team fights to try and replace the hole that Phase Rush has left.
Yeah, I mean, the play with this thing is always just have enough where one rotation of spells is at least 25%. Anything less than that, and your rune is doing basically nothing. You have to have it has to be that kind of quick and easy trading. The Orianna, to be fair, is very well suited towards a QW. Should be able to get about that amount of damage onto Pumpkin, and then from there you get to run fast for 3 seconds. You avoid any potential ganks as well on you for those for that short period of time, and maybe enough to keep Kisi alive when he is building that burstier version that we are getting to see here. Currently lost chapter with some boots, so no real information given or taken, but still, we can assume that'll go towards the Ludens, and then we'll stay relatively bursty from there. As a result, nothing else really popping up right now in terms of builds that are all too surprising. It is interesting to see Pumpkin, I believe, rushing straight into the Man Immune, maybe then taking it towards kind of that hybrid build. Usually when it's the ADC Kai'Sa, we see a bit more of a Kraken start instead, but I mean, just straight Man Immune is definitely a choice.
Is that league owner the bully?
So
that is...
I'm going to basically say that I believe the teams are going to reschedule. There is client issues right now, which is causing massive ping spikes on a lot of players. So fortunately, we will not have a cast today.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah,
we were just getting into things. Well, this game was shaping up nicely, but
yeah,
you heard it there from the man himself. I believe we are just going to have to take a bit of an L today. Riot, this is Riot itself. This is not RL. Unfortunately, this is just something we're going to have to deal with. So hopefully we'll be able to come back with either this series or another at a later date. But I guess that is all for today. Thank you for joining us. And if we can get this rescheduled, we'll get information out to you all, of course, as well as we possibly can. There should still be on League on tomorrow, and of course through the weekend as well for BOL Premier, which I will personally endorse. I hope to see you guys there, and I hope they're able to at least have some more fun in BOL Diamond at a later date. But at any rate, we'll see you guys next time round on BOL, and hopefully we won't have these problems next time. So it appears that we may be back faster than we initially thought, and we are also into a team fight much faster than we initially thought. Very dangerous going forward there from Pumpkin, but he's going to have a Stand United to help him out after his crazy all-in attempt. He gets himself a double kill. We thought that we were perhaps done for the day because these guys didn't seem like they were able to get back into the server, but they managed to find a way. We were able to carry on from where we were, and Pumpkin now is able to carry on emphatically with the double kill.
I blame Billy. Heck, Billy. Always his fault.
Yes.
Good double kill from the Kaisa getting back. I mean, Stand United did not get the Shen teleporting on top of each other. Instrument was able to cancel it with some CC, but the shield was just enough to keep Pumpkin alive. And now we see first item completed by the Nocturne. Gonna be cycling that ultimate cooldown. Even more ganks are gonna be coming out. Everyone else... Oh, we do see first item finish as well in mid lane as the Mana Moon. Not fully stacked up yet, so not at its full potential, but also has those Sork shoes, so it is going to go towards a bit of a mixed damage Kaisa build.
Yeah, I wonder if he's just kind of skipping the Kraken part and then going straight into like the Nash's Tooth, maybe Dusk and Dawn, whichever tickles his fancy a little bit more. So, just so accelerated right now because of those that third kill. They played Instrument fishing there for a Pathfinder. Can't quite get 10 to myself to buy in and then get all outed through the wall and get Cassante'd, as only Cassante can do, but still very threatening right now is Instrument in the top side, and he is building a massive lead as a result, right? Already up by 40 CS now. It just keeps on growing. The rest of the map doing good enough to stabilize things for Strawbubu, but that double kill going with Pumpkins definitely did not help things whatsoever, as I believe finally TMG Flash are going to be taking this first streak of the game. Poem is still close enough, could look for the steal. Can't quite get in the pit, even though they did have vision. And that will at least be finally a first rate going over there to the Flash.
Yeah, despite how far down 10th of myself is in the top lane, they still have the overall gold lead. It is only 1k. It's not a big deal. But you can make yourself feel a little bit better, seeing that, you know what, we are up on items. We're still doing good. And now they have secured the first Drake to give themselves even more of an advantage in this early game. We're going to see Boom now, I think, going to go into the bush and try to look for a lane gank, but the wave is shoving into his team, so he's not going to be able to. Just going to hope maybe Heart overextends instead, as we're going to get the engage. Oh, nope, we W'd bush.
Yeah, just spotted as he went for the Wind Becomes Lightning. Can't quite find where that Nico was hiding in plain sight, and now we have back up to the top side as we get a hook on the bot. Heart this time caught out there. Charge invested as well. Willie with a double knock-up. Courtesy of that, gets the Ignite onto the correct Nico, but Heart does not care all too much. And all this has done is delayed their jungler's base. There's nothing for him on top side, in fairness. He does not have any counts, but he's cancelled his base once more. He's still looking to see if this lane gank is possible.
He cancelled again.
He just keeps on looking for it, but there's nothing here to find. The longer he waits on this, the more time he's spending, and the more just keeps on getting his advantage. Already up now, 28 CS. That is 7 camps worth. And he can even look for the lane gank straight through with a Paranoia on towards mid. Keezy still has no flash. Now will just be a kill without anything further. Cancels it one more time, spotted out on vision, and it can't even find anything. This Xin Zhao set himself behind early on, either through some awkward pathing or some awkward jungle clearing, and it's just going from bad to worse.
Yeah, he is not doing any favors for himself either. I mean, canceling your back in that bot lane bush I think it was 5 separate times. You need that play to work out, and it just doesn't. He's the only one to engage from the side of Strawbubu, and Ezreal just blinks out of there. So ultimately, you've wasted about a minute and a half. Nocturne got a kill while you were sitting in that bot bush. He continues to go up on farm. And this early lead that the Nocturne already have is just going to be snowballed by that decision.
Yeah, well, it's that and many others like it as well. It's not just the one thing so far that's done it for Boom. It's a plethora of decisions that have not quite maybe been the most accurate, right? We're maybe giving some like yellow question marks if we're playing chess. We're not quite at the stage of orange question marks, or no red double question marks. Just kind of like the one where it's like, is this the most accurate move that we could be doing right now? Is this perhaps a small little inaccuracy that could be corrected if we were to play this game again? It's a nice Q3 from Instrument. Ted myself is definitely feeling the hurt of this Cassante, trying to do his best to trade back into him. That's an Iceborne Gauntlet. plus Bramble Vest. I would not personally fancy trying that myself, as that is a very nice hook, maybe, to turn things around in the bot side. Heart goes Pop Blossom in, but it just does not work. If you can't go the whole way through it, use the full cooldown still. He'll be missing that for the next fight as well, potentially, as it's a great hook once more found by Willie, and a nice pick to get something back in the bot side here for Strawbubu.
Another good hook by Willie leading to a kill. This time, Boom gets his revenge. I can cancel my back 5 times, but the 6th time I'll get it as we're fighting in mid lane. Pumpkin. Okay. Okay. Not even close. Not even work.
Not quite killer enough. It could go for the W, forcing the flash out of Keezy. Now, to be very careful of the potential for a topside play here from Poom, who's worked his way around through his Raptor camp. Great pathing to deceive there. Pumpkin also flashing on the reverse end, not getting out, as it was a flash-for-flash trade there. Xin Zhao happy to pick up a huge shutdown. Gets himself now basically straight back in the game in terms of overall gold. That was a 700 gold kill. Unfortunately, his mid laner's probably not too happy with him, because Pumpkin is up a clean item. That doesn't feel great. So Keezy is down now quite a bit, but Poom's straight back in the game. And from where he's standing, I don't think he's all too angry with what's transpired beforehand. Is, as we say, just a slightly weaker Orianna instead.
It's a green check mark from Poom there. Great pathing to cover out of the base and the aggressive trading mid, but now the enemy jungler is going to pay the favor back.
Would it not be a brilliant? He sacrificed a piece to get a kill. The piece being his Orianna there and the flash of the Orianna.
Orianna didn't die there, did she?
She flashed, and then she died afterwards. Oh my god, what is that damage? Okay. See you later, says Pumpkin. That's filth. Just hits 1 W with a full Luden's proc, and it absolutely eviscerates Poom. So you get Pop Blossom in the bot side, disgusting ults happening in the top side, but just fighting across the rift right now. These guys cannot even work out where they want to play. We can't even work out where we want to see, because we just saw Pop Blossom Paranoia used, and they didn't get much value. We didn't get to see any of it. We're not allowed to see any of it, I guess. As, yeah, straight back in the top side, way more important than the Drakes being taken. Flash gaining advantages right now based off of Pumpkin's disgusting gold lead.
Yeah, that is a 6-1 Kaisa at 17 minutes. You're talking about how that Orianna was a full item down, and we are seeing the Ludens from the Kaisa for even more poke damage on that W. Maybe going into the on-hit after this, although I just see another Amp Tome in the inventory. So I think it's gonna just be the full AP W poke focus.
This is the ARAM build.
It is the ARAM build that we're going for right now. No on-hit needed. You know, you have enough on-hit with your Nocturne and your Ezreal. I just want to throw out some abilities instead, and I mean, it is working great for Pumpkin so far.
It absolutely is. I do slightly worry for him come later on in the game, as it looks like Shadow Flame is next on the docket for this guy. He is just snowballing his lead emphatically right now, but as I am slightly worried. Later on, if you miss one single W, it is incredibly punishing. It's similar to kind of Ezreal in that sense. You miss an ability, you have to wait a lot longer on your cooldown than you would have had to otherwise. And there is also potential for Strawbubu to just go for a very aggressive play on towards the bot side as well. We're going Paranoid into the blue side jungle. This is a 5v5 eventually when the Shen turns up with his standing united with the rest of his team. Nice shockwave push, not important away from Keezy, but surely he will go down. One more auto would have done it. Just doesn't quite have the on-hit damage. Maybe that could have been enough. Instead, the True Shot Barrage is going to finish off Keezy. We head back to the left side of the fight as well. Willie getting 1v9 by a tenth of myself. The 3 players down that the Shen is trying to deal with right now, but the Cassante is the one that pays for it all. Tenth of myself tanking things up perfectly to distract this Corky Nautilus. The Cassante goes over there to peel, but it is just too late. Pumpkin ends up with 2 more off the back of it, and he can just keep on pressing W till the rest of the game ends, I guess. He is the strongest player on the Rift by far. He's looking for a base for his 3rd item already.
Yep, we saw Strawbubu just trying to get a punish in the enemy jungler, trying to push them out, but the Nocturne Paranoia on top completely shuts out the lights, and then we see a beautiful Proto Belt plus Pop Blossom from Heart hitting 3 members of Strawbubu, and that's what really turned that fight in the early game, or in the early stages of that fight. 3 knockups for everyone on his team to just pump out the damage before they can even react. I mean, it's a clean 3-4-0, and now this Kaisa already has the Shadow Flame. Just started building it.
Greedy,
myself, we're making
greedy
decisions down there.
Like,
decisions were being made.
when he sees the Orianna coming, he sees her sweep the first bush with her orb. You can expect that she's going to sweep the second one pretty soon. You're in the second one. You got to get out of there. I think, honestly, the way to survive that may have just been by flashing over into the cubby, and then you just get out. You can just base. Trying to hide while the Orianna's clearing every bush as systematically as Keezy was a very dangerous play. It results in a free turret in the bot side for the Orianna, and we were talking about potentially Keezy being put behind earlier on because the shutdown of Pumpkin went over to their jungler. Now, a solo turret gold, they're kind of back into things. It is trained out on the top side by Pumpkin, who maybe has a little more of a tough time going on the side lane as the game gets deeper. For right now, still incredibly strong as they look to make a play on the side lane now with the Nocturne coming down too. K'Sante is going to go all out here. Instrument trying his best to just run away for his life. Going to get W onto a minion. Nice block there, but not important. Oh my god, he just got K'Sante. What is that damage? What is this champion? Just deals a disgusting amount of damage. Not important, didn't have a clue what hit him. It is all 5 down bot side to kill this one. Strawbubu have an amazing timing now to make a play on the rest of the map. And it's still a 1-for-1 overall. Instrument picking up 700 gold on the shutdown. Riot, please? Now, first the servers, now K'Sante?
400 armor, 4,000 health. The coffee pasta lives on as we see Herald dropped in mid just to get some extra plates on the Poom. I mean, it was an amazing outplay by Instrument in the bot lane. I mean, if we look at his build, it is just armor. The only person able to damage Instrument at this moment is Pumpkin on the Kai'Sa. And we saw first W hit, the second W missed. And once that second W missed, just all of the damage that could possibly go down on Instrument was just gone. There was nothing to follow up with. We had Ezreal and the Nocturne free hitting, but just no damage with all that armor. 0 armor shred.
Yeah,
so
Pumpkin,
overall, a 1-for-1 with tower trades as well.
When that W got tanked by the minion, it really changed the whole dynamic of it, right? We see that one Void Seeker has just done that Instrument. It's just done that to Binku Bunku. There is a disgusting amount of poke coming out of this Kai'Sa right now every time that W hits, but every time it misses, it is going to go on a long cooldown, and when it hits a minion, that is effectively the same. It's not quite the same as Ezreal from that perspective, but every time it hits, it does things like that, and that's a great pot loss mangle found. 4-man knock up by Heart. He's going to get engaged on in return, but he's going to survive for the most part. Finally going to get taken down when the wind becomes lightning, but the rest of the fight is so heavily favored for him and for his team. It is going to be a 5-for-1 eventually, unless Instrument has anything else he can say about it. The Q3 on 10th is not quite enough. Pumpkin just keeping on the kiting, the plasma procs as well, going impossibly huge right now, as he will indeed pick up the Penta. The Drake is there for the taking. The Baron is also a worthy response. Hey, why not just take both, right? You got an ace, all courtesy of one guy. Pumpkin is so incredibly fed, and he's doing an amazing job with all that gold.
I will give Pumpkin his flowers, pumping out absolutely massive damage in that team fight, but we cannot ignore the flash engage from Heart to set it all up. The 4-man Pop Blossom to open up the fight, and that gave Pumpkin that space to put out all that damage. And you said that third Drake is going to be taken, soul point now for TMG, Baron is going to be down on top of it. We're all going to be taking our resets and opening it up out on the mat. Not important.
This is greedy.
We're being a little bit greedy again. TP's going to come in as well.
Oh, we don't talk about those flashes. Instead, we talk about the Audacious Charge, which also did use a flash, to be fair, but a much better one. Big Bunko going a little bit wide. His Heart is also looking for a retreat again. Pop Blossom this time onto just the 1. Shockwave, though, onto 2. Nice hook as well to get into 10th of myself. Down to half HP already. True Shot Barrage not doing anywhere near enough to try and equalize this type of a fight. Under the turret, maybe a little bit too fast. Pooh will recognize that and starts back away. Pumpkin keeping on layering these Void Seekers. They keep doing so much damage. He may as well keep on firing. But one hits the minion and suddenly it's 10 more seconds before he can do any damage, and that will be the tier 2 in return. But hey, if they're going this deep at this low HP, we can keep on poking with the Kai'Sa. One shot onto the Corki. Big Kabuga had no idea what hit him. Another kill surely going to go his way, unless someone else is going to steal it. There we go, all Gucci, because the Plasma Rock was a little bit too far away. We're taking that on there. Keezy walked into another Void Seeker and ends up walking back to the fountain the long way. Grey screen until he gets there. Another kill for another W. Willie falls down as well, and it was just an overstay at the end of everything there by Strawbubu. They thought they'd found a timer to get something back in their favor. They get the objective bounty on the tier 2 turret mid, but what is the cost? It is everything.
Yeah, this Kai'Sa, if they choose to reset, is going to be full build in 25 minutes. That's going to be the ace. Another
Do they need to reset?
snipe from Pumpkin. I don't think they need to anymore with that kill. It's just going to be the Corki up. Kasante's up in 5. Oriana's up in 10. You can't just take this inhib and play it safe if you want to. That's what they're going to do. Not going to try to force the end. I mean, we are doing our best American Sniper cosplay right now, is Pumpkin, and it is devastating. That's a full build Kaisa at 25 minutes.
That is indeed. That is a full build with 2 evolves, not the third because the attack speed is not quite there to match right now. I believe E going to be missing as a result, but Q and W clearly providing more than enough. The extra plasma, and bear in mind how much plasma scales from AP much more than ever does from AD as well. He is doing a disgusting amount of damage. It requires a WQ from a Killer Instinct. It requires 2 Ws in a row to connect on the same target. Anything like that, and it's probably just a death for anyone that isn't named Instrument. I think even Willie right now, with his little bit of MR that he gets from a Locket, would not have enough. I think even if he popped the Locket, it would not be enough. As he goes hunting once more for the Void Seeker while he takes the bot lane tier 2. The Baron's still there for 20 seconds. They can keep the siege going for that time, as that was a choice. Heart.
But look at the damage.
1,600 gold. Heart just spent 1,600 gold to go golden in a Tri-Brush.
He was the control. His own control ward really scared him.
Yeah, you thought it was the enemy Nico that was like playing as a control ward. As depth charge, not depth charge, sorry, the hook getting out slightly wide there. The dredge line,
I don't know.
My bad.
I don't know if Instrument can live 2 Ws either.
Ow. He might not. He might not be able to. These are absolutely chunky. That is a nice shockwave there on a slight off angle found by Keezy. Unfortunately, he is the closest to be able to follow this one up, and it will just be death for anyone who dares enter. Take heed, pay heed, who cares? It is death to all. Pumpkin says no thank you, gets himself 2 more. All Gucci, he's there. He's an ADC. He wants to feel involved. There's a beautiful flash taunt as well. Gonna get his way onto Binku Bonko. This game is just over. I don't see a way back in. The small positive, if that fight hadn't been taken, was the fact that Kaisa had already reached her max strength, right? It wasn't going to get worse from here. But unfortunately, you took a fight way outside of your base, and it is just death. It's just death at this phase. Pumpkin way too strong to be dealt with anything more than the disconnect button. I think that may have done it. Beyond that, not much hope, as that is just the base obliterated, taken down, Nexus taken away in 26 minutes, and TMG Flash with an evisceration of Strawbubu.
I think Strawbubu was sort of praying that the servers stay crashed after they reconnected. An absolute running of the map from that Kaisa. And you saw it. They tried to engage in the bot lane, try to make a play work. Something needed to go their way, but they were just too far ahead. I believe they ended with a 14k gold lead. I would not be surprised if literally all of that was Pumpkin on the Kaisa.
I reckon 9k would be my guess. It's full bills of 5 items. I think you already had at least 2.
She was at 2.5, I believe.
So I think it's about a 9 to 10k lead. Which is crazy to talk about, isn't it? We're talking about an individual 9 to 10k lead. And I mean, what we haven't talked about is maybe the impact that has on the rest of this series. Now, it is an isolated game. We are not Game 1 Andes here on the BOL cast, but what does that do to Keezy? That guy just got straight up slapped around for 26 minutes. And it wasn't all him, but the early lane phase definitely led into things. I mean, we talked about that, even like the early game kill. We saw it coming because it was one more plasma proc and it was guaranteed to happen. Doesn't flash away from it. And the rest of the game feels like a snowball from that one isolated moment. How do you recover from that now as the enemy mid laner?
I mean, I think you know where it went wrong with that first kill. You just didn't respect the damage coming out from Pumpkin. Maybe trying to play it a little bit more safe. We also saw like huge chunks coming out in the mid lane even before the minions hit. So starting the lane at the disadvantage as a whole really put them onto a back foot, and it was a really, really hard punish from Pumpkin. Going into the game 2, maybe throw a couple extra bans at Pumpkin. Definitely Zoe is going to stay out, I have to assume, with that performance. But maybe you throw an extra 1 or 2 in there maybe don't blind pick your mid laner. Try to give them the most comfortable matchup as possible. Give them that little bit of confidence back going into that game too.
Well, let's see what they end up doing. That was not fun for Strawbubu. They end up down 1-0 to end out game one. That was not pretty. Amongst all the technical issues and then the apparent skill issue that we got to see there, well, fascinated to see if Strawbubu can bring this one back, or if it will just be TMG Flash running off into the distance after claiming an emphatic game one. We'll see what happens when we get ready for the game two draft in just a few. Welcome back. That didn't take long, did it? You guys just got rid of us. You guys just got rid of us. We're straight back into things. So we've had about 30 seconds to digest that one. Anything extra you want to add before we head into game two, Pelly, or are we just ready to head straight to draft?
I don't know if there is much to add. What else can we say besides, wow, Pumpkin did a really good job. I mean, that was the story of the game. There's not much else to say.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty valid take. I don't see what else there really is to add upon that. It was just domination from start to finish. Now Strawbubu had to bring things back somehow in their favor. I mean, you could potentially look to do that through topside. That was something that was kind of you talked about early on when it looked like it could matter. And then Kai'Sa happened and it didn't really matter as much. But the K'Sante was very ahead of the Shen. Right? Maybe Strawbubu feel like there's something to play through topside. Maybe there's something to picking maybe a fast clearing jungle to make sure they keep up in tempo. Maybe there's something to play through bot side. Maybe they can even look back towards mid with a different matchup, of course. With Fearless, there is no more Kai'Sa to worry about, but even with that, their dreams will be infested with what we just got to see in game one. It'll be difficult. Some may even call it impossible. We'll have to find out as the bans remain the same. Headed into game two, and Strawbubu now with the first pick.
All right, are we going to see another mid lane blind pick here? Not this time. We're just going to lock in the Pantheon on that B1. Maybe we see a Pantheon Taliyah match or combo for Strawbubu. We'll find out eventually, but Pantheon, very strong jungler right now. That point and click CC and the damage reduction he gets from that E is annoying for any champion in the game to deal with. We'll see what the answer is on the side of TMG once they figure out their first pick. I expect them probably just answer jungle.
I feel like we haven't seen much Taliyah recently. Just going to reply with bot instead. I mean, typical early rotation champions, right? When the Varus isn't banned, especially you get higher up in the elos, Varus suddenly has a lot more priority upon him. Not surprised to see it taken there on R1, but I'm very interested to see what they pair with this Pantheon.
Could it be a Varus mid? Could we see the AP Varus mid?
I mean, at this point, it very well could be. I think keeping it there as at least a flex would be very interesting, as that's not your common response into Pantheon in the jungle. Much more associated with the Xin Zhao matchup for how much he bonks and eats said champion. But the Trundle going to be coming through there on R2 in response. I'm not sure where I sit with this one, because I feel like you don't really do kind of the same job into Pantheon as you would do when you normally put the Trundle into a Xin Zhao, right? The Pantheon is still going to have the mobility of a Pantheon to get around the map, to impact as many lanes as possible. The Trundle's going to have a much tougher time getting in there than the Pantheon, and the 1v1 isn't so dominant to the point where it infects the 2v2s as well.
Yeah, I will say with these first two picks, we were talking about how on the side of Strawbubu, their K'Sante was sort of the shining light in that early game. We have two pretty insane tank shred picks already with Trundle and on hit or AP Varus can just absolutely shred any tank on the other side. Right now, looks like Strawbubu is going to switch up to the full dive that we saw TMG do game 1. It's going to be the Aurora and the Embesso to follow. Aurora, definitely a much safer mid lane as well with that Misty Step. As we're hovering Camille, I saw a Camille counterpick last night. It did miserable. We'll see if we can change it tonight, though.
You know what also did miserable? Shen counterpick at the Cassante in game 1.
Yeah.
So maybe it's the week of miserable counterpicks.
But he won. So maybe he knows something we don't.
Okay. You could add me to T1. They still probably beat anyone in Europe. That doesn't really change anything. That's not the point, you know? If I was weak siding, like playing Orn or something, it wouldn't change the rest of the fight. The 4v4 would be where it was won. The 4v4 was where it was won in game 1 as well for TMG Flash, right? You could put me on Orn instead of Doran, and it wouldn't change much with what T1 want to be doing right now. I think the same principle applies here.
But we don't have that safety that the Shen or the tank provides. Camille's a much more carry-centric top laner.
That's
Very
also
weak
true.
in the early game until she
But I
gets
also
that
think T1 could 4v5.
finish that Trinity. They could.
So maybe that's the difference.
That's the T1 difference, baby. As we see, Sivir, common counterpick into the Varus, is going to be banned out. Lulu is going to be the other ban, maybe for Yunara Lulu that they may have been expecting. Thresh on the other side. Thresh isn't too common in today's meta, but it provides a lot of safety for the Varus, and since we are playing that hard dive comp, understandable ban to get rid of. I'd like to see a Poppy ban as well. Poppy support's not too common, but it's really great into this Ambessa. It's going to be really good into this Pantheon as well with the Steadfast Presence. We'll see if that is an option. Maybe we just get rid of Alistar instead. We'll figure out what happens here in about, a second. It's going to be the Nami instead.
Yeah, that Thresh ban is sticky with me. That banning Thresh here is a little bit of an out there one because Thresh you associate with hyper carries a lot more. TMG, they're not going to reveal their support, right? They already see mid lane from the other side. They want to see the whole bot side to try and get their counter pick in their favor, but I'm surprised at the Thresh pick. That implies to me that they think this Varus is like on-hit hyper carry more than the typical lethality, which I think he definitely can do in a game such as this where there are no real tanks, right? You've got Pantheon, Aurora, and Bessa on your top side. The tankiest you're going to get is kind of through support, if you even go that direction. I think it's a premium opportunity for Varus to lean into his caster abilities like the Jhin on the other side of things and just go lethality. That Thresh ban is sticking with me. I don't really understand it as Bard, of course, banned away earlier on by TMG. That is a permaban against Strawbubu for this series. What do you now want to pair with the Jhin?
Normally you want to see an Enchanter to sort of bully this bot lane, but the common pairings of the Karma and the Bard are both out. Instead, right now, hovering Leona, I'm going to be frank, I hate that pick, especially into Trundle. If we go Aftershock on this Leona, plus W, if Trundle just ults you, you are giving him insane
That's a lot. That's a lot.
It's a lot. We're going to see the Braum on 5. I mean, great pick into a dive comp. Absolutely counters Leona in the lane. Really gives Mbessa a struggle as well once we drop that ult. Love to see it locked in here. It will be locked in. And you're talking about that Thresh ban. I think it's especially confusing because Aurora's worst matchup right now is Ahri. And they choose to leave
Most
that
people's
open.
worst matchup is Ahri. Ahri is good.
Ahri is extremely good. But especially Aurora, the
yeah.
person you don't want to see is Ahri, and they keep it open. They keep that counter pick open, especially with how mid lane went game 1. I want to see how powerful this Ahri can be.
Well, we were calling for Ahri in game 1, and then they've moved the Kai'Sa into mid. They put the Ezreal down to bot, and it worked out incredibly well for TMG. Maybe this time when we aren't calling for the Ahri, I do feel like this is a very odd comp for TMG. There's not a lot of synergy between what their lanes want to do and what their jungler's aiming for. So maybe that's kind of the sticking point here. But the Ahri can definitely do some disgusting things, especially to that poor little bunny there in the mid lane. It feels like TMG have drafted a lot more for their lanes this time than they even did in game 1, where it was still cohesively a dive comp with solid lanes.
We're going to see if that top laner Camille is going to be able to turn around against the Mbessa. I'm not sure how much of a fan I am of this Jhin pick. You don't have any tanks on the side of TMG, so Jhin will be able to deal some adequate damage. But normally I like to see two AP champions when you're paired with a Jhin, because armor stacking against Jhin just makes him really weak. And again, there's no tank on the side of TMG, so it won't be horrible, but armor stacking is still insanely valuable.
Yeah, and to be fair, depending on what different people decide to go, if this virus is lethality, plated steel caps are very common. That kind of mitigates a lot of what's going to be happening early on. If you go double AP, maybe you're ruining your Leona's value if everyone just picks up Merc Treads instead. But this way around, I think plated steel cap's still completely valid. The Leona's going to get a lot done. The Aurora kind of has to get a lot done for Strawbubu. Otherwise, I feel like even without a tank, TMG maybe just be too tanky with you kind of plated steel caps on most people. Zonya's on the Ari, Death Dance into Guardian Angel, the Camille, kind of third and fourth item. There's no real threats once the game gets late for TMG, whereas on the other side of things, it feels like Strawbubu still have a lot of threats they have to worry about, right? This virus is going lethality. He is going to tear through basically every single member on your team. The Ari, at every phase of the game, is going to have amazing playmaking opportunities. The Camille as well in the lane should be able to get ahead of the Ambessa and then potentially snowball her lead from there as well. The lanes look scary for Strawbubu. The team fight does look a little bit better, but if they're not really able to get into that team fight situation, kind of a level pegging, we could be talking about a very easy 2-0 here for TMG.
Yeah, we'll see a lot of the eggs in the Aurora basket. We need a big bounce back from the mid laner of Strawbubu. We will find out if they are able to do it after this quick break.
Welcome back, everyone. Game number 2 of the series between Strawbubu, Matcha, Latte, and TMG Flash is just getting underway as we have a little bit of contention happening over this bot bush, and that is the word I'm going to go with. We're not going to dwell upon that turn of phrase, but it looks like both teams have been able to keep their wards uncleared for the time being, and the rest of the map is pretty normal in response, though Hart doesn't want to have things be normal. Instead, he just wants to be aggressive. And I fear that your worst wishes may have even come true. You said something about Leona Aftershock, Trundle, tons of stats. Well, Willie's got Aftershock.
Is Glacial Augment just not a thing anymore? Do we just hate it now?
It's not great. It's not Janna. I don't know what... you could go Guardian here, I think, and maybe be fine like Hart has. I think that may have been the better play. It would still be great for lane. Let's not get that twisted. Willie going to happily use his extra resists to deal with the on-hit version of Still Gucci that we're witnessing this time around. I thought with Doran's Blade he may go differently, but doesn't fancy the bow. Instead, just takes the blade with his lethal tempo alongside. Both bot lanes also choosing Cleanse. Kind of rounds out the weirdness that we're seeing so far, as maybe not, because Pumpkin's also got the Deathfire Touch, which is a decision on Ari.
Deathfire Touch, I know it got recently nerfed. Before that,
it got hotfixed because it was disgusting.
Yeah, it was probably the strongest rune in the game. I do not know how much the nerfs have affected it. Maybe we're still trying to abuse it, even today. Normally you see the Electrocute on Ari, but instead, Deathfire Touch. Gonna try to go for, I guess, a little bit more sustained damage, but into that team comp of Strawbubu, you don't really need it. I would have liked to just
Electrocute's just better.
Electrocute.
Electrocute's just better, I hate to say it. I mean, you get to proc it pretty well on your single target ability like your E, but sending that out aggressively is a recipe for disaster on Ari. That's kind of the one surefire way that you end up not having the maximum value on that champion. Just firing out willy-nilly, it means that Keezy can go for very aggressive trades back in return. Unfortunately, his jungler isn't too close, and actually spotted up by Pumpkin here as well on the top side. He has a ward pretty deep in the river, as both junglers look to take a crab and then potentially make a play on a lane. Looks like not important. Had a little see if Keezy was low enough, if he was close enough mid. Poom maybe looking towards top as well. Cancelling his base once in the top bush, and we know he has a history with cancelling his bases around potential back timers. His Krugs are going to be respawning soon enough, but he wants to make this play work. Unfortunately, there's no one there to make a play on.
We cancelled again. We're going for the Krugs.
Did you not see him base? He's TPing back to the wave.
No, the Pantheon cancelled again.
Yeah, no, but like, no, as in like, why do we cancel it? He's TPing back to the wave. Unless he makes a play on mid right now, Pumpkin definitely not expecting this the whole way around through the Raptor Pit. This is why we don't do it. Nice E as well there from Keezy. First blood over to Poom. Willie roaming up as well. Gives a potential timer for all Gucci and Hart to look for Binko Bunko, but they instead decide to just keep the freeze on bot lane instead of making a play on the Jhin. An interesting decision there in the bot side. A nice pick at any rate by Strawbubu, as they prove us all wrong. Pumpkin getting caught out off of the third base cancel, who making it work, as now we head back down to bot side because Willie has decided he wants to go aggressive and will nicely dodge away from Piercing Arrow.
Good sidestep and a great roam from Willie up into that mid lane to secure that first blood. You know, we've questioned Poom canceling his backs a couple of times here. This time it does work out. Pumpkin just not prepared for the gank. That's going to set him behind a little bit. Hextech Alternator already finished for Keezy in the lane. The only good thing to come from that for the side of TMG is you can say, well, Pumpkin didn't blow his flash. So still able to dodge the next gank that may come, but definitely not a positive play. As we get a flash down in bot lane.
Yeah, let's just go for it. Why not? Let's just try it all over again. Cleanse out now from Gucci, as it is just an exchange of that, I believe. Healing and Cleanse used by the Flash side. They tried something, it just wasn't there to be found, unfortunately for them. Using up quite a lot of their aggressive weapons, as they may even look for a lane gank coming through as well from Not Important. Turns up from the river, nice pillar onto Willie, looks to be the target of their desires, but going to flash away himself, gets himself right under the turret, and he will unfortunately just fall down. The turret shots eventually will start dealing damage, as it will be Binko Bunko getting one back in return. Support for support. Double flash triple flash rather invested by
He has ult here.
Yeah, they can go for this well. Not gonna quite go under the turret, but triple flashes there used by Flash, and it ends up not really having the impact that they wanted it to.
No, they really try to force that gank. After the Trundle Pillar and the Flash is blown, I think you sort of just have to give it up. You know, we blew the Flash, we got at least something, but they continued with the tower dive and ultimately traded one for one.
Okay.
The cost just wasn't worth.
We're safe enough. Making me question how safe he really is in the mid lane, but still has Spirit Rush now, which he didn't have when the gank came from before. So a little bit safer this time around, but someone definitely isn't safe right now is this bot side for TMG Flash, right? They are completely summonerless. If Puma's able to get down there, he has Grand Starfall, he has Flash, he can make one hell of an entrance into that bot side. I feel like he really should be targeting that area of the map right now. He was having a look around mid, couldn't find anything, instead just taking his base, getting ever closer to that sundered sky, and, I mean, when this Varus is back under his turret, you can just dive him. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Just full send. I understand that Puma's clearing his camps right now, but the camps don't matter when the Varus is this killable.
Varus is your next camp. Red buff will always be there. Varus will not.
Red camp is always there for you as a jungler. Red buff is love. Red buff is always there for us.
Red buff is our friend. We should not kill him. We killed him.
Dive and approach. I understand. Not common among most jugglers. Yeah, going out to top side too. This is the issue when so the first clear he did was bottom to top, as we're having a look at the top itself. Not important up there, as we are going to Grand Starfall in from our Raptors. Straight in goes Poom. 3 versus 2, because Keezy is here and Pumpkin is not. Ted to myself barely avoiding the E damage, able to get himself out of danger for the time being, as it's a Flash. Nice play there from Pumpkin to get something going back. Now the Spirit Rush going to do a whole lot, but Keezy's there to finish off the rest of his side, and now it's just this mid lane left all by his lonesome. Has Flash to get over the wall, but he's going to have to use it, and Poom may look to try and close this distance. A spear through the heart will finish the job, and Pumpkin ends up effectively just sending it into a 1 for 3. All 3, I believe, going over to the mid jungle as well of Strawbubu, as they make a much stronger start to Game 2 than they ever thought of making in Game 1.
And we keep on questioning some of Poom's decisions, but they keep on working out. Great Grand Starfall to turn the fight in their favor.
That's like 5 camps on top. Much more than the 1 on bot. Way better.
Hey, look, we got more kills. It's worth. And you blow that Ahri Flash and her ultimate. So now she's vulnerable to another Pantheon gank if he chooses to. I mean, Ahri's
that's a difficult
knowing
one.
that, it's going to ward.
Yeah. That is a much more difficult gank to pull off. I mean, to be fair, the Varus is still somewhat available, right? You just need Grand Starfall back off boarding yourself. No Flash for Poom makes it a little bit more difficult to go looking for the very aggressive plays, but your bot lane has Flash. Willie has a Flash timer synced with the enemies. He should know exactly when their flashes are coming back online. And as such, you can really time out that play to perfection, right? If you think, okay, well, our Flash timer's got about a minute left, your Grand Starfall has 40 seconds, maybe there's enough crossover where you can make that play just before their flashes are coming back. Let's see if that is going to be the decision. Instead, looks like Poom headed up to the top side for now. The grubs are there for the taking. No Drake taken so far. So prioritizing the top side, the money objectives, much more than the scaling of the dragons.
Yeah, a little bit interesting that they are going for the grubs instead of the Drake with how much pressure they have across the map, with how ahead they are. I guess they sort of want to deny it from the Camille. Camille would be an absolute terror in the side lane with those 3 grubs, taking it for themselves instead. So we see Heart exploring the river a little bit with Willie as we have engaged in topside.
Yeah, and this is the time of game where I point out that this Camille is not actually that far ahead of the Ambessa. If we could even call a 4 CS lead being ahead, as that's just going to be a public execution straight into a Hex Deck ultimatum. Both these guys throwing absolute haymakers. Ted to myself is going to disengage. Poom turns up now as well. The spear very nearly finished off Ted to myself under his turret. It will be a disengage from both sides, but Strawbubu definitely going to be the advantageous side out of that play. Ted to myself playing with fire being that low, and now the dynamic flips maybe against him. This is a matchup that is supposed to be so Camille favored that you don't even have to think about top lane. It's a 1v1, you win in isolation for TMG, you can focus on the rest of the map and you can get the rest of your lanes ahead as the Trundle. The opposite has been happening so far, though. The Ambessa has stayed even with the Camille. The bot lane is definitely not winning right now, as we're going to see this play that we talked about before. The flash cleanse used instantly, straight off a cooldown there by Gucci. Now the curtains are going to be cool. Hart can only tank up so much with his unbreakable door. And the full shot isn't even tanked. He lets his ADC die instead. Hart is absolutely heartless. Abandons Gucci. And Big Kabunko happy to claim the ADC instead.
Yeah, Binko Bonko finds the 4th shot. Snipe. You know, Hart didn't want to die himself, I understand, but that Varus dying is much more costly than the support. Instant punish. That's plates going into the back pocket of Jhin as well. That's going to be the Drake as well. Not important. Is trying to find something in the top side, at least a little bit of a counter jungle, but Instrument is now running this top lane.
And that is a crazy thing to be saying. I mean, obviously, this is the one item spike for Ambessa. It comes earlier in the game than the Triforce spike, because Triforce is a very expensive item. Eclipse, I think, costing 2.8 Triforce with all of the 3s. It means that you can get this spike faster, especially when you've been able to maintain parity in the early lane phase. And Instrument doing a great job so far of maintaining that. And then, as a result of getting this item spike, now looking to potentially even push his advantage back in his favor. We saw him getting those plates in top side when 10th was pushed incredibly low. The jungle both turning up from both sides, impacting much more in Instrument's favor. It feels like right now, this Camille counterpick is doing absolutely nothing, and it feels like the rest of the map as well for TMG also is not doing enough. Keezy still needs to look for a base. He has about 50 mana left, if that, but he's still up a kill. Right, he's still up overall in terms of gold. Bot lane now up 2 kills to 1. And the top lane, while there are no kill advantages, the jungle has impacted it so much. And as you're saying, who is going to look for that, as that is an all-alone Braum. Hart with no one to stand beside. Going to finally find a friend to hop to, as it will be Gucci turning back up once more. They don't actually end up pulling the trigger on that dive top lane. I think it would have been slightly risky, but you have flashes. Definitely could have gone for it. May look for it now instead. Public execution. There we go. Poom finds it, but gets pushed straight back. Nice timer there of the Hextech ultimatum. Flash forward from Instrument, though, as 10th myself tries to run away from the turret. Will mean that is a free kill for the Ambessa. Ticket to level 11 as well. It is going from bad to worse across the rift for TMG.
It is an absolute nightmare from TMG. A complete flip of game 1 as we're going to try to force into the Varus. We need
Solar
something.
Flash straight into like everything from the Jhin. Keezy turns up, steals the kill away. We can talk about Green maybe another time. Big Kabunko had to reload, so the extra kill takes a little bit more time, but he's going to open the curtains once more. And not important is caught out between a turret and a pillar place. Unfortunately, had no way of escaping the 4-shot there. Big Kabunko happy to claim another double in the bot side. TMG, I mean, what a stark difference this is from game 1.
Boom caught with the charm. It's just going to be a little bit of a chunk, and that's going to be all. And you said it. Insane difference from game 1. It really has flipped on its head. We saw TMG really running the map for most of game 1. His charm is going to miss. Poom's going to be able to walk out. And now it's the complete opposite. Strawbubu absolutely running the game. You did say Keezy did steal that kill in bot lane. It feels a little bit bad if you're Binko Bonko. But as a reminder, this Aurora is the only AP damage on their team. We talked about how in draft she needs to be in head in order to provide that damage for her team. So I think overall, you can't be too mad about it. Like, you can be upset, but it goes.
Aurora needs to get something from that roam, right? If it's not the first, then she's on looking much more aggressively for the rest. But you can see how Keezy knew the kills were already in hand. He just backed off entirely. He was still around just in case Not Important managed to dodge that final shot of the curtains being called. But wasn't needed at all in the end. It's just able to walk back up to mid, happily take his another positive roam in his favor. We see the early 3v3 on the top side, giving him a kill, 2 assists. Now heads down to the bot side, gets another kill, another 2 assists. Doing exactly what's required of this mid lane right now, as the rest of the map is also performing incredibly well for Strawbubu. They find themselves up 3,500 gold, and they may even look to make a play as Poom is here on the bot side, has Grand Starfall, so he can stay a little bit further back when looking for a lane gang, because Not Important's on the top side. I wouldn't have been shocked if he had pulled the trigger. Instead, it's just going to be a subjugate on the bot side while Poom looks to take a base because his top camps have respawned.
And there's that electrocute from the Aurora coming out, just permanently winning these trades. Deathfire Touch, never going to allow you to get the best of the Aurora in that lane. Even with the Rocket Belt for the little bit of extra chip. Gonna force the Ahri on the back, and now Keezy looking to start running the map, has some great roams. Once again, walking up into the river. We'll see what lane he can affect next, as we're trading in top side. 10th of myself goes for the E underneath the tower just for a little bit of chip damage, trying his best to try to get back in this matchup from how far behind he has been set.
Yeah, and this is the phase of the game where the Camille can really try and stretch her legs a little bit, right? You've reached that kind of one item mark. We talked earlier about the Eclipse versus no one item. For the Camille was maybe a little bit different. Now it's one item apiece, and we just saw Instrument's health got absolutely chunked. He's going to go for the dive here under the turret, and the Pantheon may be here just in time to make one hell of a save. Perfect counter gank by Poom. Flash Wing and tanking the Hextech ultimatum, making sure Instrument was able to just about escape. Had to stay in there a little bit longer than he would have wanted to, but able to walk out after it all. And said to myself, he thought he found the time, he thought he found the angle, but it was perfectly played once more by this top side, and it's another perfect play by Strawbubu. It doesn't even cost them the Grand Starfall. It does take the flash, so Poop doesn't have that, but he's already straight back off the rift. And look at where Pumpkin is. He's in absolute no man's land. Going to get hit between wells. Keezy actually going very far himself, maybe a little bit too far, able to still escape. No mana on him, but he will at least be able to look for the kill. There it is on the Trundle, not important. A non-entity in this game right now, just Triforce nowhere near tanky enough to be frontlining like he was. And when you subjugate an Aurora, they have absolutely no stats to take, so you don't even bother subjugating. You instead hold on to that ultimate for a rainy day, and it's a very rainy day when the Ocean Drake is going to be taken at 17 minutes. Isn't even the soul for the game. It's just an Ocean Drake taken at 17 minutes. It's instead Infernal. Turn our rainy day into a very hot day indeed. But at any rate, the gold lead keeps expanding, the objective lead as well keeps on growing, and Strawbubu, they put themselves in better and better positions. This game keeps on going on.
Yep, 17 minutes in, we find ourselves 4K up, and Poom still has the Grand Starfall, by the way. Both of those plays that were made without using the ultimate. We saw Pumpkin sort of get a little bit greedy trying to clear out that vision, and I think there, as not important, you sort of just have to let the Ahri do her thing. If Ahri dies there, Ahri dies there, but instead we sacrifice ourselves and gives us the Drake as we have to engage mid.
Yeah, there is no Spirit Rush. There is still a flash for Pumpkin, but clearly nowhere near enough range on the flash to escape from an angry Ambessa and a Pantheon who had W. Unfortunately, doesn't even bother popping it, just accepts fate, takes the third death of the game. This is triple his death count in game one. Pumpkin having a massive role reversal from what we saw earlier on, and I mean, credit to Strawbubu. They have managed to bounce back so well from what could have been a very tilting experience of having, was it 19 kill mid laner? Destroy the Rift? They've bounced back so well, you wouldn't even know what happened in game one. It says 1-0 at the top. That's all you know. You might think, oh, very close game. You wouldn't expect that it was an absolute shellacking that they're coming back from and now fighting back in the manner that they are. They're maybe a little bit too far, perhaps, from Instrument. Had to flash away after the Hextech Ultimatum has matched its full duration. Not important. Using a Subjugate once more is finally going to finish off the Ambessa with one more. Bonk the turret, though, going to trade them back out. And Keezy is already up in the top side with a TP. Can't quite land the Q. He's going to have to hop into the bush. Actually, he's much more scared of the Camille than the Camille is of this bunny. But it turns out that when you have 4 friends around, the Camille should be very scared.
Yeah, the power of friendship won in the end. Not surprising with how ahead Strawbubu is. I mean, we see a little bit of a desperation play there from TMG, sending the tower dive with not important, just saying, listen, I need this kill, I will dive the tower. We need something in our back pocket. He's able to get it with the trade on the map. Mid-tier 1 falls, top-tier 1 falls. So overall... I think
they also got bot, though.
Did they get... Oh, yeah, they did get bot. I mean, overall,
there's objective bounties. This is a huge play for TMG. I don't... They lost in a 2-for-1 in terms of overall kills, but in terms of the map, they actually gave gold out of that exchange. But trading 2 turrets for 1 with objective bounties in their favor, maybe a misstep from Strawbubu to send that many players top. I think send someone else, absolutely, to guarantee that kill on the Camille. The Pantheon's already out of play from having to trace away where Not Important was running to. But, like, maybe Keys is already up there. Instrument has to base. I guess you may as well send one if you're going to send both at that point out of Binkamunka and Willy, but it costs them so much elsewhere on the Rift that I think TMG happy enough with how that play ended up transpiring. They don't end up losing all too much. They might end up losing more for a play such as this, as Keezy sends it all onto the all Gucci man himself. Is able to evade the worst of it, though, and this is a big shift as well down. on the Rift from Strawbubu. They've left their mid laner alone on top, have TMG. No one there to respond just yet. He's going to have to rotate down. Lacking TP as well to really get in, and there is a fight to start. Potential for macro plays to be made right now for TMG.
And those are the little plays you need as TMG to come back into this game. Sure, you're not as strong in those fights, but the macro play to get those 2 shutdown towers is a really big deal. Helps them even out the gold lead a little bit. I mean, they're still behind, but now it's only 3k instead of the 4.5 that it was. It's not important. Look for the ADC.
Yeah, he's going searching. Going soul hunting. Can't quite find Binkabunka, who doesn't even have to use a summoner, by the way. The fact that he's able to escape when he's not even using a summoner is kind of crazy, but he has still got a massive subjugate off on the Leona with Aftershocks. We're just taking a humongous 5 vs 5. Public execution into the backline is perfect to pick off the first. Heart does fall down. Hextech ultimatum, they're going to trade things back out as the curtains open up, and it's a beautiful first shot to finish off another target. The other 2 hiding outside of the cone. Binkabunka are going to cancel it because it's just those 2 left alive. Tent to myself and Pumpkin, the solo laners, are trying to hang on here for TMG, and they don't go for the macro play. Instead, they go for the micro. They take a massive team fight, and it is just not an advantageous team fight when you're up against this type of team fight comp with how ahead they already are.
I just said you need to look for those macro plays. Boom. Yeah, that's a very dead RE. We flash. I don't think we needed to flash, but you know, it
he wants the solo kill.
Here.
He just wants the solo
Sure.
kill. At the end of the day, like, sometimes the jungler just has to take a solo kill every now and again. Like, whether it costs flash or not, that's a solo kill on a solo lane. I'm doing my job, thank you very much. And to be fair, he has exceeded his job for this game. Let's not get that twisted. 3rd item spike already found on the Pantheon. He hasn't even got his Merc Treads, by the way. But he is still 8-0-6. 3rd item Guardian Angel. And whether it's someone else who is his angel or if he's the angel for the rest of his team, I don't think it matters. He is so strong.
Can we call it brown bagging if it's the free boots?
I don't think so. I think you could just, like, say 5 Merc Treads, please.
You're no fun. Said to myself, take the tower aggro.
It's subtly different, I think, as the Drake will be taken on the bot side here. 10th was definitely taking a lot of that turret. Taking and tanking, I guess, simultaneously there. Got down to maybe a 10th of his HP as well, but able to survive. Gets 2 item spike, finally hit now on the Camille, and this is the phase where you typically say Camille has that chance to go nuclear, right? The 2 item spike is basically everything for Camille as a champion, but it comes a little bit later than I think he would have wanted. This matchup in top side is meant to be so much more explosive in the Camille's favor than it has been in this game. Instrument, for all the things happening to his team in game 1, was the real shining light on the Cassante. Now another beacon in game 2 as they look to make a play on top side here. Not important. He's got window shopping. He's looking in the windows. He's not even there. He's not even on the rift. Tend to myself also going to get stunned up. Nice use there of the solar flare to guarantee the lockdown on the Camille. I mean, is it even fair when you fight 5v0?
I think it's fair if you're Strawbubu. I think you're very happy fighting 5v0. On the side of TMG, I'd be opening an admin ticket.
He wasn't even there to respond. He just kind of got deleted. So to Tent to myself, and now it's a 3 versus 5 to try and hold onto this Baron. 7k left as it keeps on ticking down. Pumpkin gonna go sending it nice and early. Big damage onto Keezy, but he can't quite land the last bit. The Spirit Rush finally gonna get that tick of damage. Massive shutdown in the Ari's back pocket, but of course can't spend that gold just yet. Has to go back to base to do that, but the rest of the fight is happening way before that will ever think of occurring. Binkabunka, massive damage on the 2 item spike on Jin. Can't quite find the 4th shot on a good target. They're only Heart presenting themselves, and it's not the target they would have wanted. Strawbubu overstepping a little bit once more. First time round, it was making the play with all 5 headed up to the top side. This time, it's sending all 5 to the Baron, where they couldn't quite secure it. Their Baron damage, non-existent. You know why? They have Jin.
Yeah.
He does not do Baron damage. That means that the Baron play is actually a lot more risky than it initially looked, and a nice punish there from TMG to at least force them away and also get a huge shutdown onto their Ari.
I mean, that is huge as well. They won the 3v5 at the Baron, and it stopped the Baron overall, too. So the Strawbubu got stopped in their tracks completely. I mean, this gold lead that they had has not been expanded on at all. When you're this ahead in the early game, you would love to see to continue stomping, to continue to build that gold lead, but it's just stayed even for the past 10 minutes. mean, sure, they
Well-
are still up. What is that, 17, 16 kills? But
16, yeah.
We are not expanding the game at all. We're not accelerating the game to end it earlier than we can. We have the 3 Drakes, so TMG will be forced to fight that soul in 2 minutes, but still just lacking the speed that I think they need.
Yeah, well, I understand that, but at the same time, I think they maybe think they also have the scaling factor. They're not in a massive rush. Their team fight is very destructive. It's not important. Very close feeling the full wrath of said team fight. Instead, just decides to run the hell away with his dead man's plate. Though somebody can't quite say the same is 10th of myself caught in the wrong side of the river right now, basically invading on the Krugs. There's a lot of players who have him as their primary target. His public execution is perfectly positioned to land straight on wearing hookshot and wall dive too. Potential to make a Baron play off the back of this is another overstep on a different side of the map, this time by Strawbubu. It feels like they're happy to walk around as 5, but this Baron is not the quickest from TMG either, right? They have an on-hit Varus, which is nice, but it's an on-hit Varus who's got a lot of AP in his kit. Doesn't quite do enough. It's going to get burst down. Finally, they will take it. They could look to just flash out of the pit instead. They're looking to walk around the safe way, but it might not be all too safe. The 4-shot close to the ground. Starfall is insane from Poom. Is going to get the kill. Isn't even going to get popped on his GA. Finally, not important. Going to chomp him down, but it's already a kill onto the Braum. The Camille doesn't get the Baron in the first place because they're still already dead. 3 look to survive. Worth?
I think when 2 people lose Baron, it's not good for the people who take Baron. I think it's worth for Strawbubu. I think the big question here, why is Camille that far pushed up? We don't see anyone on the map. And
It was all a bait.
Not killing in Krug Pit. But
It was all a ruse.
I don't think the bait is worth it. They have 2 people without Baron. You still have Drake coming up in 20 seconds. We blew the Varus flash in that fight. He no longer has it for this.
Yeah, that's a huge thing. The summoner factor is absolutely massive headed into this fight. And the other issue is the fact that Camille is not the one with the Baron. She's TPing in to almost certain death right now. She's flying into the middle of 5 of them, going to get caught up by another public execution. The Ambassador actually going to ascend it deep herself. Willie has to watch out on the backside, finally going to be able to escape as Poom barely hangs on to life. Hookshot onto the pillar for the wall dive was beautiful, but he can't quite get the damage. The Thunder's Guy finally going to not give him enough. Willie's going to fall down surely to the Trundle as well, as is now basically all onto the Jhin, all onto the Aurora. Nice stun found there by Hart. The concussive blows stacking up perfectly to finish off yet another, and it's just on the Jhin now. 4-shot in hand, could kill the Braum if they walk too close. Great wall though. The door shuts it straight in his face, and Big Bunko now is going to get the cleanse, I guess, away from those concussive blows, but it's nowhere near enough. And it's the team fight comp that gets completely out-team fought.
Yeah, it was great spacing by Pumpkin in that team fight. We saw the Ambassador try to dive in with a public execution. Pumpkin drew the attention of everyone else on the side of Strawbubu. Everyone else in that team fight immediately went onto Pumpkin, had no support for the backline Ambessa, and we saw her instantly die, and it just turns it into a 5v4. And after that, I mean, even with that lead, it's still definitely hard to play out of 5v4. You don't have that consistent damage of the Jhin because it's not an on-hit ADC. You have that burst of the 4th shot, but that's about it. And in the extended team fight, the on-hit of the Varus, the attack speed of the Trundle, just to get the better of you. And now they completely lost their gold lead. Now they're actually down 800 gold.
They are. And alongside that came a whole lot of shutdowns onto a lot of key members. I feel like I saw 1,000 gold pop up 3 times during that fight alone. TMG right back into things, and in some ways now on the front foot, right? They still had that Baron for a minute once this pause ends up falling down. And sure, they only have 3 Barons. Make that 2, I guess, because Pumpkin did die during that fight. But you still have at least 1 lane worth of Baron up minions, maybe even 2 if you decide to split the Trundle off elsewhere. Very fine to split push on a Trundle, even if he is in the jungle. You can use this time while these guys are respawning for Strawbubu to maybe even look to pressure some of these turrets. They're going for a base by the looks of things off of taking that Drake, but you still have a minute, as we say. There's plenty of time to try and get these mid-tier 2s, these side lane tier 2s out of the way, because that bot lane is in a perfect position to do precisely that.
As we are stuck in another pause here. We know we had a little bit of issues with the servers earlier in this
I hope it's not
series.
that.
Hopefully it's not that again. Hopefully maybe someone's mouse just disconnected for a second. Hopefully it's just a little quick fix. But while we are in this pause, I mean, TMG has been on this back foot the entire game. But just that one Drake fight, it denies the soul, the Infernal Soul, and now they have the gold lead. We were sort of disagreeing about how fast should Strawbubu play this. They have a good team fight comp. They may win with the scaling, but right now that doesn't seem like it's going to pan out. I mean, it's a huge shift of the momentum in this game.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with saying they might have the scaling is the fact they have Jin. And sure, there are no Giga tanks on the enemy team, but that Trundle is building a whole lot of armor. I don't know if you noticed Deadman's Plate now into what appears to be Thorn Mail. That boy tanky. Then to myself, I would assume we'll eventually head towards something like the Death Dance, the Guardian's Angel. It makes sense for Pumpkin to sell his 3-stack Dark Seal at some point and go towards Zonya's of his own. That might be enough armor to make basically all Gucci the only one he actually does damage to. At which point you're looking to the rest of your team to really do the most of it. And, I mean, sure, the Aurora's strong. The Pantheon's still strong even after these deaths. Everyone is still strong enough. But their strength is now matched by the enemy team, which is a vast contrast to what we saw earlier on, where Strawbubu were just stronger across the board, and yet still apparently that wasn't enough for them.
No, it just wasn't, and now this throws into question, what's your next step as Strawbubu to try to get your footing back into this game? How much damage is this Jin going to be able to do? You said the only target that could really hit on the front line is 10th of myself? Because hopefully, if, TMG plays it right, the Varus and the Ahri should not be in range of the Jin.
Mm-hmm.
But the Camille passive shield can soak up a lot of that initial damage from the Jin, and then how much value are you truly getting out of it?
I don't think he has anything. So the Trundle isn't going to take any damage, and he may even just be able to subjugate the Leona. The Brawl we saw in that fight was able to tank anything he has to throw at him as long as he has a door available. And as you say, the Camille has amazing adaptive damage resists, and the ability to just say, no thank you, you're dead instead of me. Even when I'm at 2 at 7 and you're 8 and 1, you're an ADC, unfortunately. And you're now completely summonless too. Which is something I don't think we touched on enough during that fight. Like, that was a fight where TMG came into it with no bot flash, no support flash, no top flash.
No jungle flash. No jungle flash.
And on the other side of things, does Strawbubu have 4 flashes and lose the fight? Or did they have 3? I think Intra may have used his in top side to avoid the death to Camille, but like... They used
it was 3 at least.
flashes and don't win the fight? Like, that is insane.
Also, GA now
to
down
you.
for the Pantheon.
Sorry, you go. That's very big too. As we are back in things, Cesar, I will still ask the question.
Yep.
Do Strawbubu win that fight / the rest of this game with any other ADC than Jin? With 8 kills on the ADC.
I think so. I just, as League is catching up, I like Jin as a setup ADC. I don't think he's bad in the meta right now. I just think you cannot have a solo AP carry when you are playing with Jin. You need some other form of AP damage so this armor stack doesn't happen and makes the Jin completely useless. Imagine instead of Jin right now, we had a Caitlyn Leona. How much those nets and those headshots would be doing to the enemy team, how much zoning it would be able to provide, like Jin, like Zone as well. I just don't think it was the pick in this game.
Yeah, well, I don't think the Jin is a pick in any game, but that's because I watch a lot of LCK, where everyone hates on the Jin, and we also hate on Varus in a side lane. Apparently, no summoners on all Gucci. Does get a ton of damage on Takizi, deletes him from 100 to 0, courtesy of the Chains of Corruption, giving him that passive prop onto his W, as Puma is able to dodge away from a charm, looks to get the kill at least on the way out the door. Which Hart was unable to throw up in his own response. Will he going to be able to survive? Binkabunko, what are you doing there, fella? That is way too far on the Jin. Walks straight into the enemy jungle. That's not yours anymore, my friend. gives over what was a positive play up to that point straight back into TMG's favor. That was just a 2 for 2. No more said. We got a nice pick on the side lane. It got retaliated to. And then the Jhin turns up and the play turns around. But not in his favor.
Now we're going to be taking plates in top tower as well. It's just more bleeding of gold from the side of Strawbubu. I mean, they were up 4k, now they're down 3k. In the span of 2 minutes, it has been a 7k gold swing, and it's not done yet, because Pumpkin is still taking plates. 10th of myself in bot lane just took another tower. They are hemorrhaging in this game right now. They need to find something to stabilize themselves.
Yeah, I think this has almost been like indicative of how Strawbubu played this whole game, right? It feels like they have been consistently matched in terms of what they look to do, and in terms of gold, in certain respects, right? When they got their advantage, they tried to make plays to increase that advantage, but they ended up just kind of keeping it where it was, right? We keep going back to that earlier play where they traded a couple of kills for 1 on the top side, 1 turret for 2, in a game that you're already up by 3,000 to 4,000 gold. To trade down in terms of turrets and only get 1 extra kill in return, it's not enough to advance the game. It's not enough to snowball in your favor. I feel like TMG have been able to just kind of match whatever Strawbubu have been looking to do, and now we've gone beyond the phase of matching, right? It feels like TMG have now exceeded that level. They're able to now just go beyond. They can make their own plays because they have this now advantage in their favor. And everything they want to do is working a lot better than anything Strawbubu tried earlier.
And the later this game goes on, the more that Trundle Subjugate is going to get value against that Leona.
True.
Leona gets tankier, so will that Trundle. It's going to be hard for Strawbubu to try to find that out in this game. I think you really need to just try to focus on a pick on one person with a Jhin W after, Pantheon Starfall in, Jhin W on top. Try to just full burst someone before a fight truly starts. But we're at that point of the game where everyone's going to be grouping. Binko Bunko is getting
Oh my god, we are in danger. No flash for maybe 3 more seconds. It's going to go off cooldown during his grey screen. But unfortunately, you'll have to look at it with a grey screen. It's going to be 1 go back in the other direction. Between Wells is going to pick up a kill there for Keezy. But his support's also fallen down, as this may even just be a look here for the end. 10th myself goes hook shot, goes wall dive just wide as Keezy hops into his W and gets out safely. 3v4 to try and hold onto the base. The inhib guaranteed to fall. TMG can look to just take their bases if they want to. 1 minute before the soul, they don't need to overstep here. In fact, they do. It may be enough to send the game back into Strawbubu's favor. Nice disengage there. Good patience shown by TMG, and they know why they have to be patient. Because they also have an advantage with the Baron spawning in a couple of seconds. They can look straight up there towards it. They're looking to hide on bush though first. Blast code used out by 10th. Trying to go over the wall, is spotted out on a sweeper, but it does not matter because he's deleted half the HP off of Keezy instantly. The other half is surely not long for this world either. And Poom, who just got his GA back off of cooldown, he lost it on 1 Baron play. He's going to lose it on the 2nd Baron play as well. Instrument does get the Camille, I guess, in the long play, so 10th maybe a little bit of an overstay trying to distract from the Ambessa, but still. Positive play once more, 2 for 1 by TMG, and that Baron's still there for the taking because Poom is one of the 2.
Yep, it was a great play in mid lane to crack that inhib. Good disciplines as well to back off, not try to force the end, and then they cheese in the bush. Shades of Fnatic bush. We've done it again. And now they're going to turn the Baron. Willie's going to walk up here, place a ward. You're not stealing that as a Leona. Baron is going to be secured as well. Drake is now spawned. I think the only thing Strawbubu could have done here is maybe try to rush Drake, but your only damage on it is a Jhin. So how can you really rush it?
The jungler's still dead for 7 more seconds as well. That is almost like the bigger issue at this point, is the fact that Poom wouldn't have even been there if you tried to rush it. It would have been leash for not important at best. Another throw, I guess, at worst, as it's 2nd Drake taken here by TMG. Their damage keeps on scaling courtesy of these Infernal Drakes. And Strawbubu, they keep getting pushed further and further up against this wall. Like, how much longer before the wall just cracks and they all fall down?
I mean, I think it's already started to crack. If we look on the side of TMG, the only person with a positive KDA is the Varus, and they are still stomping at these team fights. Even with how this game has been turning, Strawbubu's still 12 kills up. It doesn't mean anything anymore. But the 12 kills looks nice. It just shows how dominant this early game was for Strawbubu and how much they've lost in this mid game.
Yeah, and I think that really is like a sign of a really good team playing. When you're able to, from behind, make plays that kind of keep the parity there, maybe even push things back in your favor. We're just going to take an engage. I'm not allowed to have fun. We're just going to have another fight. Instead, it's going to be between worlds used on the left-hand side. Big Bugger deleted by the Ari as Instrument had no chance of survival. It is a 5-0 wipe. It is utter destruction as the mid-wave is perfectly positioned for this Baron push to finish off the game as well. A 5-0 would typically do that at this phase, but under the turrets with the mid-wave already pushed in, we'll certainly see that be the case. TMG finish things off in style, and I guess they've proven that they were the better teams. I was trying to say a little bit before that. They just kind of win those.
Yeah, their health bars in that last fight didn't even move down. The only thing that made their health bars drop was the turret shots they were taking. No other damage really got through to them. And it is just a beautiful mid to late game by TMG to just turn around this game on Strawbubu, and it's going to secure them that 2-0. They're now up 2-0 in game score. We were talking about how they were 2-1. Strawbubu went 2-0 in their games last week, but that loss clearly did not affect TMG at all.
Not in the slightest, apparently. They were dominant from start to finish in game one. Game two, they had to take the back seat a little bit, but they showed they can use the back seat just as well as that driver's seat. They pull off an amazing comeback to come down from what was a very alarming early gold lead to pull things back in their favor and make it, honestly, not even feel close. Is kind of crazy, bearing in mind that kill disparity.
Yeah, no, definitely in that late game, once they got control, they did not let it go. And we were talking in that game again, how fast should Strawbubu play their advantage? I thought they were playing it too slow. Maybe I'm a bit validated. Maybe it was more of the Jhin pick, sort of just falling off. It's known for its early game lane phase, but the late game, not his strongest point. And since we didn't push those advantages in the early mid game, Jhin just fell off. How much of it was the playmaking? How much of it was the champion? We'll never really know.
We will. It was Jhin. I don't want
like
to say it's
Jhin.
Jhin.
I'm trying to defend him.
I hate
like
Jhin, so I will not. But yeah, at the end of the day, it is TMG with a convincing 2-0, and it's the ability to just turn those plays when you're down into either like gold neutral or gold positive plays that keep you alive, keep you fighting, that I found so impressive during game two, right? Game one, sometimes you just get giga stomps, right? Your mid laner decides to get a random kill insanely early on. The enemy mid doesn't flash in time, ends up getting caught, and then you snowball through that play the whole way through, and you end up with being full build at 25 minutes, and the enemy team can't do anything about it. Game two, I actually found more impressive from TMG because they're able to come back and they're able to just keep on making the right macro plays every single time, and it brought them back now into a series where I was convinced for a solid portion they were going to game three. Instead, they end it in two, and it's just simple for them.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we saw shades of it in game one with how strong they were able to keep that lead. It never felt like they lost their footing in game one. And we saw it in game two as well. Even when they slipped, they were so strong that they were able to fight their way from behind. Really, not many mistakes once it came to the mid game. It's a very dangerous team going into next week.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing what happens next week, as well as, of course, across the rest of Blue Otter. But that is all we have for this rendition of the Diamond broadcast. We'll be back with some more stuff throughout the rest of the week. And, of course, as we said earlier, BOL Premier on the weekends as well. We'll see you guys then. Until then, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.
the fires to